It's for the bronze medal at this year's Scotties, Nova Scotia and Ontario. Time to meet the teams now, brought to you by Tim Hortons. Celebrate 25 years of Roll Up the Rim to win. They are out of the Ottawa Curling Club and skipped by Rachel Holman with Lisa Weigel, Alison Kreviasek, and Emma Miskew. The Nova Scotia champions, the Blue Noses, are from the Mayflower Curling Club in Halifax, skipped by Heather Smith-Dacey with Terry Lake, Bliss Comstock, and Danielle Parsons lead through third. Ontario will play the Redstones. They also have the last drop by virtue of their better record. 8-3 versus the 7-4 for Nova Scotia. And you already see Heather Smith-Dacey is out, has the brush down for her lead to get us underway, and that is Terry Lake.
Vic, you made a very good point about Ontario. You can't just coast along on your record, especially your record against another team. If Nova Scotia has the greater motivation today, it will be a whole different kind of game. So if you're Ontario, it's a bad habit to go out there and just rely on the way you've played. You have to be motivated to win this game. And you said, Vic, it is going to be very important.
You notice, Russ, the pressure was on me. The whole week I hadn't made any points, but I got my point in.
Kudos to you, Vic.
Thank you. But you're right. Listen, we hear it expressed, I think, primarily when we talk about our Canadian hockey teams when they fall into that position of playing for a bronze medal with so much emphasis on finishing first.
Well, absolutely. If you don't win, what have you done for me lately type thing. But it's, on the other hand, what color is fourth place get? And, you should be very, very proud to be the third best team in this great country, the greatest curling country in the world. And I think they'll step up to the plate and certainly try.
You told me an earlier story. Why don't you relate that about your mom and what happened to you in Italy?
Yeah, good point. We just been lucky enough to knock off the United States in the semifinal, the sudden death semi, to get to the gold medal game at the Olympics in Torino with Brad Gushue. And I gave my mom a quick call, and she was crying, and she said, all I wanted you to do was win a medal. I just wanted you to win a medal. You now have a medal, and I don't care what happens in that final game. And in some ways, there's a lot of truth to that. You have to be realistic, and to play the best teams in the world and come back with any color for your country is a great achievement.
It's an up and down first end, Ontario with the last rock. What was your feeling, Linda, back in '88 in Calgary?
Well, we had a slightly different playoff format, so you played the semi and the final. There wasn't the page system in that case. It's a huge amount of pressure in that semi-final game for Canada in the sport of curling because there are so many expectations on us succeeding. And Vic, after that Olympics, it was a demo sport, but Ed Lukowicz, we were on TV together, he apologized for his bronze medal. And I turned to him and said, you're proud of that bronze, and I'm proud of you for how well you played to get it. We have to be careful about that in this country, because that pressure can actually make us not perform as well in that semifinal.
Absolutely.
So you have to take every game the way it is, walk out there and play your best, and be proud of playing your best. And if you don't, you'll regret it.
Hard for peace, guys. Real hard for peace.
So an open end, Rachel Holman is aggressive, but we see this sometimes from her. And there she gets the open miss. What a break. Not putting the pressure on the opposition, and you still get a chance to set up your deuce.
Fine. It's pretty quick.
Is your broom dry? Sort of.
Guard's okay, Allie.
It's real quick, Allie. It's quicker than practice.
Good point. The front end from Ontario talking about the speed. We know the inside-out shot's always a little quicker as the week goes along and as the game goes along. But Ontario was first practice because of the advantage of hammer, and you're breaking fresh pebble in that first practice. So there is an adjustment here, and hopefully they've made that adjustment. This one's moving pretty hard.
Needs to grind.
They called out a 10. That is back line.
Sit.
sure Allison is very upset. But that is the one thing, as you said, Russ, in the first end, I think you need a little extra half support to make sure that you've communicated clearly, because you've had that practice, and yes, some people have the feel, but one more time, it doesn't hurt just to reinforce how quick that spot is.
There's no question it's a lot different than it was 15 minutes ago when you were breaking down Pebble, and that's a really unforced error, Linda. Anything over the hog line, Nova Scotia hits the opener. If they make a mistake, you can duck around that corner and get your two anyways, and that was really overthrown.
You got it.
Line's tight. 7, 8. Hold in. Hold there. Okay. 9. 9. Close.
So here's the lower risk move to get the points back. The one opportunity slipping away. Rather than hitting the yellow rock, she is playing the freeze, hoping that it will be made and a chance for deuce. And if it's not made perfectly, at least there may be still a blank in play.
Hey, Alex. Get them both. It's fine. Okay. 8.5.
Be slightly unlucky, but Heather has to be careful here. When if this ticks the yellow, it could redirect right onto that back red one, and if it hits it absolutely perfectly in the wrong spot, it'll be a draw for 2 for Ontario.
It's pretty good. Whoa. Yep. Whoa.
We talk about improvements and learning over the course of the week. We saw the big number for Danielle, who actually had a slow start at this event. There's the nice pick, but came on very strongly, and what a great thing for her to think of her week and how she did learn and improve.
Yeah, we tend to forget there's 3 rookies out here and a rookie skip, and a fantastic week really with the record they had, and still trying hard at the end of the week here.
Down control. Whoa. Just control. No. No. Clean. Yep.
I got it.
Tried the freeze once, but back to the hits.
9.5. Real soft. Real 10-ish. Okay, clean. Yep.
Now Danielle Parson throwing the third stones. She's another one of the curlers who is just fresh out of junior play.
Yeah, it's a terrific year to look at this Scotties. We've had some great shot making, great games with a very youthful field, and that's so nice to see. Sometimes we go along for a while and it's tough to get out of your province. We have such experience in our sport. And then you see this leap of both of these sets of teams with young players, and it's great to see.
All the way. Okay, well. Okay.
And although we hate to admit it, Russ, I think if I was to look back on my career, I'm not sure if you feel the same way, it was a lot of the losses in my career that led to the learning that happened, then made me such a better player. So even though you come out of this, in the case of Nova Scotia having 4 losses in round robin play and maybe a bumpy start, still tremendous learning from those losses.
Now, if you're just joining us for the first time, of course, Heather Smith-Dacey took over this team after Colleen Jones developed bacterial meningitis back in December.
9.5.
Now, Colleen we talked to her earlier in the week, and she didn't know if her curling was done for the year, but it turns out that she has recovered sufficiently, and she is on the ice today, in fact. She's at the Lakeshore Curling Club in Lower Sackville. She's in the Nova Scotia Seniors Championship at the moment, and trying to win for her a 26th Nova Scotia title.
Close to normal.
She's up against Jocelyn Nix. It's a double knockout. Nix must win twice. Nancy Delahunt, her longtime lead, is throwing the third stones for Colleen. But the Nova Scotia ladies were telling me that she may not need the operation to plug the leak. in her spine area, that the drugs have done a sufficient job, and that's why she's been able to play.
Well, I'm not sure it's fair to put Colleen out in any event with the number of titles and her experience, and even in seniors play. It's going to be tough for anyone to beat that lady.
26 championships. That's unbelievable.
And whether or not Heather Smith-Stacey goes back to playing another position or continues as a skip, we were talking about the experience of the week, and it's been remarkable for her as well. Nice for her to have the support of Mark, her husband, here as a great coach, and just a tremendous week for her overall.
Absolutely, whether Mark's here or not, or you have a good young team that's improving every game, it's still throwing those last two bricks, and done a wonderful job skipping this Nova Scotia team.
A little bit, Carrie. A little bit. Good.
The two skips throw very differently, so when you see the broom go down, you will see quite different ice. Heather Smith-Stacey taking extra ice, quiet hit weight, it curls up. And you look at a very nice shot that she just made, and now she leaves the ice and it's up to the opposition, and Rachel puts the broom in the middle of the rock.
Which means it has to be an inside-out motion and tremendous velocity to keep it hanging out there to actually make this shot. But that's the way Rachel plays it. That's the way she throws it every time. If you slice the ball, it ends up in the middle of the fairway. Slice the ball.
Final stone trying to slice this out and roll out two for a blank in his opening end. It is the bronze medal game of this year's Scotties. Rachel home in Ontario still have last rock. And so far, no one has the edge as we go to the second here in this bronze medal game. Ontario and Nova Scotia, our final day here at the Scotties in Charlottetown. Once again, Ontario does have the last rock. They have the hammer playing the red stone.
Let it move a little. How's the weight?
So this will be interesting to see how the two teams cope with a more aggressive plan. You see the center guard nice and close to the rings for Nova Scotia. Come around is deep. That favors Nova Scotia with their come around, and nicely made.
Really got a curl. There.
All about the weight in these shots. It probably hit the broom perfectly, but with that extra 6 inches, a foot of weight, it will bounce off. It won't curl to the face, just slowing down in time. It's amazing how much straighter it'll run if you throw that back 4, back 8. Now, that ended up being the right weight, but it's easy to do.
Well, we talk about teams managing the ice and stones with brushing. Now, many skips do give ice, which is intended for the player to throw it a little tiny bit light, and then you can manage it with brushing to carry it. Leave it if you want a little higher, if it's not making a move. So players that throw it by themselves to the spot take away that ice ability of the skip.
Best example of that would be Alberta's Kevin Martin, and they almost don't take enough ice, let it go, and get the big sweepers to straighten it out, straighten it out, straighten it out. Once it's by the guard, then they can get off it, and that allows them to throw it a little bit lighter.
Yeah, he openly admits that. He cheats. He literally cheats. He cheats the line, and when you've got those kind of horses there, that he'll still save them more often than not, right?
I think it's cheating just to have those brushers on your team.
No kidding.
Missing a tiny piece. Back 4. Okay. Guard's fine.
There's that last little word maybe from Emma Miskew. Guard is fine, Russ. When you've got the hammer and you're in this situation, we've pointed out all week that taking that guard and splitting it off and opening up the scoring area is a good thing.
I think it's the next move in curling that nobody's doing, or very few teams are doing. They do it by accident maybe, but it's a wonderful coach team here by Ontario to recognize that. And we're going to get this situation now, and we'll see how this end plays out. That's a great miss.
Shut eye.
So don't forget our points before the game. Yes, stay aggressive if you're Ontario, but don't close it down too quickly. And for Nova Scotia, you have to be cognizant of all the red stones, and thus Heather moving up to play the hit and roll rather than just guarding a scenario.
Exactly, and because of that missed shot, as this statistician will call it a miss, you and I won't, it forces Nova Scotia to be a little more defensive, and they can't apply the pressure, which is what this sport's all about.
Hard, go! Hard. Go. Yep, okay. Try and roll behind. Okay.
They're dead frozen, right?
The reason Rachel's standing there is she's just trying to figure out the angle of these rocks after calling the
field.
hit. Trying to figure out where to hit it and what weight to use.
Yep.
Where do you want me to hit it?
3/4 on the inside.
Okay.
Nose is
fine,
okay.
Allie. Yeah. Okay, you got it, Allie. Should stay relatively straight with the field.
Yep.
The worry here is the yellow-red's automatic. The back yellow's going to fly. Where's that yellow one going to go? I think it'll carry enough, unless they hit it on the high side, to tick that back red one.
Yep. Hard. Oh, whoa. Roll it in, roll it. Right behind.
Right in.
So that was the trade-off. Rachel decided to sacrifice the back one to try and get the one in behind cover. And it's just a biter at the back.
But for fourth shot, so it's going to take a while for Rachel to make that come back into play for sure.
It's just off the rings, and this is top 4.
Doesn't matter. Whatever you like.
I don't mind the run. Okay. I like it if you make it.
I threw this in practice. Thanks.
We back up into what Vic talked about, though. The miss has created this. The miss, we talk about the one that wrecked on the guard. Smart miss, rolled open, and let's play this out. Let's pretend there's a total miss here. This is a run back at the tough shot. There then is a double to sit 3 with hammer.
Close. Yep.
Hard! Hard!
Whoa. Yes. Whoa.
No total miss there. What a great shot.
Oh, boy. Danielle Parsons.
They were on and off it. It needed to be on a little more to stick it.
Okay.
And they left the one in at the back. And since the back line is part of the house, it would appear to me that that is actually still in. Otherwise, they could measure it and see.
Emma Miscue as we play third stones here in the second.
Hard. Sit up. Whoa. Roll it, Lise. Roll it. Whoa, Lise. Whoa.
Oh, look at the roll.
Damn. Good.
Oh, just out the other side to sit shot stone. That's Ontario, top of the 8-foot.
Half. I think that's probably easier, right, than sticking it. If you play a 10, there's lots of room.
I don't mind this.
Okay.
Can I throw the intern?
Same weight.
Wait.
Great little roll there by Ontario, setting up a tough run back.
Slightly high side.
Same
Yep.
weight.
Whoa. Yep. Whoa.
Get it.
And she'll get the one at the back center line, too. Couldn't hold the shooter.
But when you think about both teams, I like what Heather Smith-Dacey did. She didn't go nuts when she had rocks in the 4-foot. She didn't guard and hope. She actually made the smart play, the more defensive play, slowly but surely got rid of those red stones.
2 great run backs.
6. You gotta be here.
Room.
You gotta be here. 11.
Room.
7. Close.
No.
Close. Yep. 8. Bumping. Whoa.
Still on the offense for Rachel. She's not playing a hit. She's trying the freeze.
Yeah.
All right. 10? Maybe less. How much air do you have?
Knows that you're okay.
A third? Third of a rock?
Okay.
I'm like a 10.5, maybe bored.
I don't mind bored.
Just enough room to get to the nose or hopefully even inside roll for
Board.
Nova Scotia.
Okay. Board weight, see if we can get a little inside roll.
Has to keep the weight down, Linda. We've seen a few of these during the week, especially later in the week, that inside-out shot being a little straighter. We talked about the ice being a wee bit dished. Haven't seen enough shots here to predict that in this game, but there's been a lot of these missed on the high side.
Would they be your surprise team, Nova Scotia, Linda, considering the fact that they had to go through the skip change and, you know, moving people up again, relatively inexperienced, except for Heather Smith-Casey? And that's, you know, Ontario, people will say, is the surprise, but my goodness, they have more experience than many teams here. To my mind, Nova Scotia is the surprise.
I think so, Vic. They haven't had a chance to play very much, as you see a nice hit and roll by, rolling a little bit too far, but still a nice shot by Heather Smith-Dacey. But if you look at Rachel, she did play the women's tour. That team was intact and ready to go. And the change so late in the season for a team is extremely difficult.
So here is the week that was for Nova Scotia, losing to Ontario right out of the blocks, and then losing to Quebec, so you're down a couple already, but they managed to put three together. Beating BC, of course, and the two-time champion Kelly Scott. They beat Saskatchewan, who's in first place and in the championship. They also beat the likes of Alberta, but then they just stumbled, of course. They got through the tiebreaker against BC, and then they lost to Ontario in the 3-4 game, and now rematch with Ontario here for the bronze medal.
Line's good. All there. It's heavy. Bumping. It's not moving at all. Or bumping. 10. Right by it. Carried.
Now, when it comes to Ontario, as Linda mentioned, for a young team, very experienced. They play on the tour. They won 2 events early in the season, won 5 in a row, but then lost 3 of 4, gathered it up to finish strong, got into the 3-4 game, and they won that 13-5, and then they lost in the semifinal to Saskatchewan to fall now and play for this bronze medal.
Things that you do have to be so aware of as a team. Russ already mentioned the faster path when you go from the center line out, and Rachel has a very different throw than the opposing skip. And that was probably too much ice along with too much weight, because that could be managed by the brushers in both cases. She's going to have to be really careful not to follow Heather Smith-Dacey.
Great point. We talked about it earlier with the blank attempt by Rachel Holman. It's an inside-out motion. Heather doesn't do that, and you cannot put the broom in the same spot for the two different curlers.
Not much.
Just bite the 8.
Just trying to block the way for Ontario in their last rock.
Not deep, not deep. Just bite the 8. Still sliding. Sit down.
Dig it deeper? No.
Shoot.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Okay. Who's that?
It's an early release. Yeah.
No, it felt like I didn't give it much.
So shot there, shot on the edge. Third shot, in fact, is the yellow, right in the middle of the 12-foot. So a double doesn't work to bring the stone at the back into play. So Ontario and Rachel Holman will be facing 3.
Now, this is not a risky shot, but the only thing about the shot is you have to really be careful of the weight. Rachel's so good at the up weight, you have to save the shooter. You have to pull it back.
You know, these aggressive rocks, a little light, a little heavy, makes a big difference at the far end.
Yep. Clean it. Whoa. Clean. Yeah, a little. Yeah. Good. Nice one.
Right on the nose for a single point. Ontario here in 2 on this final day of play here in Charlottetown. Nova Scotia will have the hammer when we come back. Ontario picks up the single in the second. Rachel Holman makes the hit against 3. And so now for the first time in the game, Nova Scotia will have the last rock, playing the Yellowstones. And in it comes, and looks like we may be going up and down the sheet here in the third. This is the Nova Scotia lead, Terry Lake.
Well, Heather Smith-Dacey listened to our opening maybe about playing more defensively. I think probably it will be determined by the rock that is played in first. It's in the forefoot. It's too good in her mind, and she's going to hit it.
And she also has a great short-term memory, and losing to this team by 8 yesterday might force her to play that call also, but it makes a lot of sense. That's a dangerous rock.
Ontario had a look of what the decision was on that first one, so now we'll try and put it out in front where it cannot be hit.
Yep. Hard. Hard. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, a shot there.
The championship banquet was held last night for teams and friends. And the first team All-Stars, all coming from the defending champion Jennifer Jones with Caitlin Lodge-Officer and Dawn Askin. Congratulations to all of them, and they will be, of course, in the final.
Real heavy, eh?
Later today against Saskatchewan. You'll see it at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
At the Scotties, those All-Stars are not voted upon. It is shooting percentages, and if a shooting percentage is tied for a certain position, it then goes to the plus-minus of those two players to break the tie.
So based on that, second team dominated by Saskatchewan. From Amber Holland through third and Tammy Schneider in second. Alberta lead Chelsea Bell. Congratulations to her. She picks up a second team All-Star lead overall.
Please take it. Coming in nice. No, it's way out. 5.
Two best teams all week
4.
will meet for tonight's championship.
Hard.
Mine's good, guys.
Hard. Drag it back. Go. Keep going, guys. Okay.
Well, it's a very clear plan, and it is certainly what we talked about.
Okay.
The mistake by Nova Scotia on the come-around.
Okay.
Heather
Save the
Smith-Dacey
shooter.
did not get the rock she wanted in behind cover, and so it is the run back trying to get the front opened up.
Whoa. 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 Yep. Whoa. 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 Yep. Whoa. Yep.
It's pointed out Chelsea Bell, of course, is originally from
Okay.
Regina. So can make the argument it was still all Saskatchewan.
2 or 3.
I think Alberta would argue that point. You're right that Chelsea played in juniors with, of course, the Saskatchewan team.
Let it come back. 2. Way up there. Oh, wait for line. 3, 4. Just 3. We gotta finish it. Go. Yep, go. Hard. Hard.
Hard if you can.
Hard, guys. Right over. Go. Hard. Keep going. Keep going. Hard. Hard. Let's see.
We're shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It looks a bit.
It
It looks like they are shot.
We're
Sorry,
shot, yeah.
Russ, right at the back edge. Not very much.
And it makes a big difference here, Vic, because it, with a chance to possibly steal, being shot at the back makes a much more aggressive call here, make a lot more sense, because you can stick this around the corner, around the center, pardon me, and sit 2 as opposed to drawing against a possible 2.
Yep.
Hard line.
Okay.
Oh, this is gone. We talked about it yesterday quite a bit, the ice being dished a little bit, and anything light on a draw just bends off what we call the hill out in that 12-foot area really quickly.
And you talk about mistakes. When your skip has been very clear about trying to keep the front open, there is a wrong way and a right way to make it. Now, it's partly a combination of the ice and weight, but you can't drop the second guard out front. So that is one thing, and we hate to be so hard on the players, but that is what happens at the hack end. Even from the first end, I said you have to talk about the path and the weight, and pro side misses without getting too much information into the head of the thrower, and that takes practice to communicate those words at the hack end.
Hard.
Nova Scotia is shot at the back edge of the 8, and Emma Miscue will draw back edge of the 4. Nova Scotia with the hammer here in 3.
Even top 4 is fine.
You still could clear the front if you wanted.
I'll give you a 10 on mine.
Okay.
They're coming in.
Room's out a little wider this time. Obviously, a little more weight will keep it out there longer.
Should be close.
Your line's great.
Whoa,
You got room. You got room.
No, line's nice.
Line's nice. Still got room. Where are we? To it.
Do it.
Okay, we'll let it work then. Yep.
Coming down.
Yep.
Should finish here.
Hard line. Hard.
Oh, very nice to drag it by. Wonderful brushing, Terry Lake and Bliss Comstock. Does come deep, does sit, back of the tee line, back of the button.
It is great brushing, and it is in there for shot rock, and you'll see that they had to brush it to get it by because it's just going to take off in that spot. Still to get it by the next one they had to brush, but look where it lands. It does go to the back button.
It's all you guys. Whoa. 5. Okay, go.
That means there's room for this one to land right in
if you
front
can.
of it.
It's not curling. 7. Right to T. There. No. Whoa. Yeah, go. If you have to. Get a shot.
Go, go.
Whoa, Ellie, whoa.
Still weighted.
As all great players tend to do, we've got the mistake back 12, a mistake way short, and then we made the mistake in the 4 foot, and now they're got the perfection and 2 great come
I
around.
think here for now. Try. Come have a look. I mean, we could try here too. Not bad, actually.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
I'd like to be shot now. That's.
Well, you're here.
I think that's the call.
If we're just top button, just shot.
Yep.
I'm going to swing into that later,
Yeah, exactly.
too. I like that way.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, you guys, you got to be shot, though.
Okay.
A little better than, like, half and button.
Okay.
They feel into the red intern that was just thrown when came by the guard at the top of the 12 foot so close that they can't get to the inside. It's tougher, so they'll go the other route and see if they can ideally end up in front of the tee line, but shot rock.
Should have lots.
Like what
over
slot?
here, though.
Danielle Parsons.
Yeah, hard line. Hard line. Quick.
We're going to go at it
Hard
again
line.
here, Comstock and
Hard,
Lake.
you gotta go. Hard line.
T plus.
Hard line. Hard
Try to get it by
line.
a stone, just sitting center line, top 12. There it is.
Yep.
Sneak it by. Oh, yes. Oh, no, just a little rub. Late rub. Oh, my. They got off it as if to think, you know what, we're by. How sneaky was that?
Well, it was sort of caught because it had that extra weight to go to the back 4, and I guess the brushers knew it had enough, and then there is the fast finish.
Kissed it.
We've said so many times that brim was at the edge of the 8 foot, and if you're going to take that wide path, you have to go even wider to get by.
Exactly, that's where the big curl is, Linda. The wider you go,
Hey,
you could
yellow
probably
goes
go out
back
a
on our
foot
red,
wider
right?
and still get to that same spot, and that was an unforced error. It was so close. Makes a big difference. A little soft tap here now, and possible chance for as many as 3 for Ontario.
Quick. Yep.
Tap it back, a miss by Heather, and they freeze another one in there. It's a big shot.
User times. I think it's 4.
That is why I mentioned earlier to maybe make a play on the yellow-red combo and see if you can get something else out in the house, because there was probably some drag there, because this was our point before it all started. It seems that Rachel Homan knows how to get Heather Smith-Dacey tempted into the center rock come-around game, and it is Heather Smith-Dacey with the hammer.
No line. No line at all.
Rachel Homan and her first.
It's got to come in hard. 8. No.
They're worried about the line, but this should finish. As long as it's not deep.
Yeah, it's too much weight for the brushers anyways.
Too much weight.
He'll tap it back. And look, close look, maybe the Yellowstone, to my mind, the one they just touched back. Sitting back button, Nova Scotia, sitting 1.
That's too bad. I thought I threw really well. Just a foot too heavy, I guess.
You think? Just to make sure. I just can't throw any weight, or we're not going to get the movement. Pretty sure.
I think we're 1.
Yeah. Okay, just tap this back. Roll in. I don't know if we'll be number 2 though.
You got to hit it. I think you
got
got
to
to
get it thin. I think
And
maybe
just touch this.
maybe we play back line.
I think so. Like
I just don't want to kill this one. That's the thing.
If you just touch this and roll into here, because that's a steep angle, like you're going to kiss this if you're just
It's
rolling
just a heavy
here.
draw, redirect off this one, but we have to get this one. We can't touch this one. That's the thing, right? I
throw
think I
back
still
line.
like this. So I mean, we can keep this as shot here too.
Okay.
Just don't want to leave them shot after this shot. Back 8. Hers took a long time, but I think mine will come up a little bit better.
There's the key thing we talked about, Linda. I think mine will come up a bit more than Rachel's, and absolutely for sure, because Rachel has a bit of an inside-out motion.
You got to get like everything to the inside of the red that we can.
Okay.
We're shot right now, but I just don't want to leave them shot after this. So
You can
let
see
it
that
work.
there is some air between the shot stone and the
I'm thinking
red
back
stone
8.
top 12. That means you can get to the inside. They want to cut it as finely as possible.
Sitting there, center line, top 8.
Okay.
That was close to a beautiful
Sorry.
shot.
Well, that's an ouch. That just went as we know it. It does in that spot with her release. But look at the way it ends up leaving the house.
The sweepers knew there was a little bit more weight than intended and just were a little tentative on the sweep, and that cost that extra inch to get it by. That gets by, it's perfect.
And
so
so
just a hair
Ontario without last rock.
Yeah.
Sitting 2
You get me there, right?
on the
I think.
Yeah.
opposite
Are we
sides
two?
of the button.
Sorry?
Are we 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can come and freeze right in here. What happens if we guard this? Sorry? What happens if we guard?
How deep,
It just puts the pressure on, right? Okay, I like this. I'm just asking.
Right in?
You like going in, or?
Yeah. If we go up here, she has a shot for 1. Or even 3.
Okay. Right in.
No,
Puts a lot of
2.
pressure on. What does
Right
she have
there.
to do that?
And even if I'm light, that's fine, right?
Okay. Let's try to go here. If the line's not good, we leave it up here. Okay.
Yeah, just give it to us.
For weight.
What was my last
Well,
time?
that's one of those either or. I know you don't particularly like that,
real
Linda.
funny.
You've said that forever. That go down the throw with 1 in your mind. Not we'll try for this, but if not, we'll do this.
Yeah, usually you don't ice yourself correctly, or you throw too much weight to think that the other one might work. And the combination is rarely a good one, so you have to be very careful. Now, one thing Rachel pointed out was a shot that Heather would have as off the rock way over by the board. She has to remember that Heather does not necessarily have the same skill at those sorts of shots that she does, so that has to come into the planning as well.
Stay close. 6, 7. Line's not bad. 7. Yes. Oh! Yes.
Well, 6, 7 is top 4 button area. So it's Weigel and Kreviasek. Got to get it by that red stone. No, a rub there too, and then a rub there too, and look at that. It's 1, 2, and very close. Even looks like from that angle it could be sitting 3. 2 for sure. Possibility of 3 for Ontario at the moment.
Well, the weight was perfect. Just need to get it by.
The thinnest of wicks this time.
And Redstone playing no favorites.
It's really close to us. I'm right here.
Is it?
Really close.
Yeah, it's close.
And I got this draw to cut them down.
So our coach's visit has been called for,
Maybe
and
this just to
here
cut them
comes
down.
Mark Dace.
I don't have much.
No, I think you can concede a steal of 1 by pounding that 5 on the outside.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That was my first gut. Was
The
just
8's coming out this way, and the 7 is going to go off this 8 there, and it's going to spin out.
I mean,
and
they're
that
sit-
one,
I think they're sitting 3 anyways, so
Yeah,
it's
they're
close.
you can concede a steal of 1 by just peeling that 5 hard on the outside.
Yeah, that's what I was first thinking.
And then you're 2 down with hammer.
Okay.
You know, you had a couple bad breaks there. Just
Yeah.
cut it down to 1.
And sometimes, Rush, you just got to cut your losses, do you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a great comment by Mark. You played a good end, a couple bad breaks, and they were to feather those guards so thin. But hitting this really thin, as Mark could definitely do with a lot of weight, if they can get by, this is the key. They have to get by this one. If it rubs off that one, they won't make it. But I think, Linda, you can hit about half a rock there, maybe a third of a rock, chap it in there, make the double, possibly sneak in there for shot. But as Mark said, give up 1, 2 down with hammer.
So final stone.
Yep.
Facing 2 for sure, maybe even 3 Ontario rocks here in the third.
Whoa.
Heather Smith Dacey trying to chop the yellow across and move it. No, not
Okay.
enough. 1 will back up,
2.
and it remains 2. So a steal of 2 for Ontario here in the third. And Ontario and Rachel Holman in this bronze medal game with a 3-0 lead. A week from today, we'll be in London, Ontario at the John Labatt Centre for day 2 of the Tim Hortons Brier, but it all begins on Saturday, March the 5th. Our opening draw is at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and then later that evening at 7 p.m. we'll have a half-hour look at the entire field, and it's a wonderful field at this year's Tim Hortons Brier. On this, the final day of competition here at the Scotties in Charlottetown. This is the bronze medal game, and Ontario gets one with the hammer in the second. They've just stolen 2 more, so here in 4, Nova Scotia will have the last rock playing the Yellowstone.
Good shot,
Well, Linda, during that timeout, I loved the comment that Mark made to the team to kind of pump them up, but truth be known, I think he was lying.
Well, we were talking about it because I thought Heather Smith Dacey played a very nice first 2 ends. Second end, keeps it open, plays that defensive style we were talking about, forces Ontario to face 3 on their last. But there she got tempted into those come-arounds on the center guard. I talked about the bailout point when she maybe could have cleared the front and taken one out of the house to boot.
Yep, go.
Come around, that Ontario does so well, and she has virtually nothing on her last. And yes, Mark was right, there were some bad breaks on rubs, but that style of play is going to catch you a few times. And I'd be interested to know, great comments by Mark in that timeout. Yeah, you have to be supportive. I'm wondering what he said in the break to maybe give them some little different advice, because we saw corner guard go up, and I guess that's the one way to counteract that play to the middle, is put up a corner or even draw open if the score is close, and try and get away from that cluttered forefoot.
Here it comes. Oh!
But
Still bumping. Wait's nice to it.
they did honestly get a couple of bad wicks, right? Little rubs.
Oh, no question.
If they bury those stones, Linda, they may be on their way to a heck of an end.
And that's the if, and that's the problem playing Rachel, who seems to have that button area zoned in when she throws her draws. If you don't make it, it's not leaving yourself an out. We talked about outs. There are ways you can put guards up and run them in. There are ways you can have in-offs. There was nothing left for Heather.
Right
Not
on.
at all, and she squeezes by on that first one. A little miss sweep, the truth be known. And you're right, Vic. Could have put a lot of pressure on the young Ontario team.
It's good.
Sometimes it's a game of inches, and you're sometimes on the wrong side of the inch. And so far, that's what's happened to Nova Scotia.
Take here. Yeah.
So this is another case. Very nice position of that yellow stone in front of the red. The red is shot rock, of course, top 4. Bliss being asked for the freeze. So yes, a freeze is great. If you get the two rocks frozen together, you can run anything into them and that red goes.
Line's good.
But you still have to keep surveying,
Line's
making sure
good.
this doesn't rub off and leave Ontario
Close.
something,
Yep.
and making
Whoa, whoa,
sure there
whoa.
is something to run in throughout the end.
Whoa.
Line looks perfect here. If it just finishes another inch or so, you'd love to get to the nose. Almost.
Liz Comstock down on the corner.
Move that. What'd you say? Guys like that? They could be lying too buried. Well, maybe not buried. Yeah. Our shooter's not going to roll off, though. Try to hit it high, maybe. I don't know. You got to get rid of that guard. But it's a nose hit to get it to go. Okay. All right. Okay, tolerance is to overcurl.
Lift your broom up.
Middle of the rock, Allie. Aim for the center line.
Red on red.
If you overcurl, that's fine. No. Yep. Hard. Missed it. Yes, roll it, guys.
And roll it they will over to cover the edge of the 8.
Which is not the greatest roll when you're 3 up and you don't have hammer. It's a great chance to roll another one in behind the guard here, and with that one freeze and one almost frozen, and a super end shaping up for Nova Scotia.
The one thing we do know about Nova Scotia is their great mental side of the game. They're so determined. They have been so scrappy in round robin and coming back and holding on in the tiebreaker. It's just a wonderful look that they have as a team, and they make a ton of shots as they're trying to get that game back under control.
Will it stop in time? It's going to be dead buried.
I know, I just knew we were going to be so tight. Okay, that's good.
It does stop.
Might be able to get that. Hey.
Back 12 foot. Maybe showing a little bit on the wide side. This is Emma Miskew.
Ontario's going to start blasting, so they just have to be careful not to overthrow and throw themselves off.
Yep. Hard. Need thinner.
A lot thinner there. A little misread on the angles there by Rachel. It's a third of that. It might have hit the second yellow, redirected, and got the back one.
Think here, just even. Okay.
They knew they were going to get the top one. That was easy. So if they get this a little thinner, it just changes that angle enough and maybe gets that back yellow.
And now you
Like
go
this lady,
from
you? Yeah, but then she's got this.
just sitting
and
the
then she's
1
behind.
to
We come here and
maybe
she doubles.
splitting the
Playing that
house to
anyway.
sit 3 and
Yeah, but
realizing you're
here.
down by
But
3
if
on
we
the
come here
board.
and she doubles these off and sits there, and then we're starting from scratch. At least we'd have one over here if she makes this hit and roll. I like this. Okay.
When you play Ontario, you know they have the upweight ability, can make a lot of doubles. So what Heather Smith-Dacey is trying to do is preserve the deuce. It would be lovely to get 3 right
line's
back,
tight.
but she's trying to keep the rocks separated enough that Ontario has to make a difficult shot, and still she would
Whoa, it
be
looks
able
like
to
it's all
continue
the
to
way
try and set up for 2.
That's cruising. Whoa.
Danielle Parsons.
Sit down. Sit.
Oh, without the back.
We see it time and time again where you spend a lot of
Just wanna
time
throw a board?
worrying about what shot to play and not worrying about how to make that shot.
Throw more
And
weights in on jam, don't I?
quite a bit of discussion before that was
Well, the
thrown.
thinner the better.
And what you have to do as a curler is go back into your routine and reset for the
If
throw.
you hit it really thin, you might be able to hit it. Okay, so I just want to see where the rocks are.
Zero talking on that last one about the path and that inside-out path that we constantly remind
It's really
curlers
tough
that
to
it's
make a
usually
perfect
a little
roll.
quicker and
Or I just play a hit and roll.
a lot of time
It's
wasted
really
on
tough to make
strategy.
perfect rolls, a lot of weight. Yeah, I learn to throw control and try to roll it. So I have to hit half to jam that. So I hit 2/3 and try to roll it over. That's really thin. That's what I'm thinking, board. can't control the sweeping though with the board. All right, go throw it. Hurry up. Which way do you want to come, in or out?
I think in turn. Actually, the out turn is
The
less
out turn's
likely.
easier not to jam.
Okay, let's do that.
How much waiting for again? 4?
I don't mind board with the out turn, actually.
Control. Okay, control.
Choice was between the double and the hit and roll. They've chosen the hit and roll, and the choice was about the turn to try and get the roll and not jam.
Hard. Hard.
After coming down and having a look just to get it
Hard.
into her mind, Emma Miskew.
It's going.
And will barely give it a touch to push it to the edge of the 4-foot. So an opportunity to get themselves out of trouble after the miss by Nova Scotia's Danielle Parsons. Now handing it right back. The miscue.
If you're good with 4 or 5.
And here we go for Ontario.
It was similar to what we said about Nova Scotia, where they came down, talked about it for a long time, and I'm not sure it ever really felt set in the final decision on the weight and ice.
3-point lead. What was wrong with just hitting it and staying? And then there'd be a different angle after Nova Scotia successfully hits and stays, and
Whoa.
a big mistake.
Whoa, line's nice. Top out. Top 8.
Have to keep some separation between these two buried rocks, because Rachel, with that big ability, can run it across or try to leave some space.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Well, much better for Danielle Parsons. She threw her first one out the back.
Good job, you guys.
And this time wraps it around.
You gotta go 2/3. I think it goes by.
This way. Even the rollover's not bad.
Yeah.
To make this angle, which is the easiest way for Rachel to make a double, it's very close, somewhere in this area, if I have my lines right. So it has to be very careful when not jamming on the back one. Now, the good news for Ontario, they throw it so hard, the odds of it hitting that back one dead perfect are very slim. So the double's on here. There is a chance, and hitting it perfectly, you could be shot rock and buried.
Right out of her hand. Weigel, Kreviasek, Rachel Holman, and she'll just get the one. A little thin and behind the cornerstones.
So there you see the problem. She really threw that hard and was inside right out of her hand. And now the ability to go open and those two buried rocks on the other side. And remember, they're buried behind the rock that Ontario put out there. Just a lot of mistakes by Ontario in this end. And a very determined effort by Heather.
Fantastic comeback, great end. They didn't get down.
You and try to tuck a piece in there to make it hard for you.
Well, I don't know if she's going. I don't know if she's going to ever play that. I mean,
Yeah.
at this point, she could give us 4
No,
by
I mean,
playing
well,
that, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I
Okay.
think
Couple of options, though, Linda. You could go around again, and
But what do you have to be so perfect with it, with the danger of leaving it somewhere that they can make it double?
I wouldn't do it. Certainly if you needed 4, you could give it a go and see if you could play the run back and miss. But at this stage, down 3 and things that didn't go well last end, I think you try and keep it a little simpler.
so. You'd like 4, 405.
Yeah.
Okay, place it, guys.
Pretty good.
7, 8.
Place it, back 8. Make sure you're back here.
All there. All there.
Okay.
Get
Hold
back
in,
in,
not
but-
it if it's all there.
Make sure you're back.
Go hard. Hard, 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 hard. Go, 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 go. Come on, guys.
great rock placement. A well-played end here.
Remember now, there is the yellow stone that Danielle Parsons played. It's just sitting outside the rings at the back, still in play. There it is, just behind Emma Miskew. Jammable, Yeah, possible. Would it bounce back in? Yeah, maybe. So it's something, though, that Rachel Holman does have to consider here with her last.
It's close.
Yep. Whoa!
Avoid the jam. No, she didn't. And so now it'll be a chance for 4 for Nova Scotia.
Well, I don't know what you say about that one, except that was a sloppy approach to that rock. It was a pick because the other two were buried. You really, yes, it'd be nice to stick, but you had to play it so that you knew you were angling it out.
I threw one yesterday.
She played that straight turn on the outside, and I'm not sure about playing it that way.
Inside out motion with that out turn grabs her, and this isn't a simple shot. We haven't played this turn in this spot, but a wide open hit for 4. Wow.
It's nice. Yep.
That's good. Line's good.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yep.
Whoa.
Hard.
Whoa.
Clean.
Final still will spill out the back, so the missed opportunity. Really not well played. Ontario, Rachel Holman said, you know what, jokingly, I'm playing for an ugly color. She's just coming off an ugly end. Here's our bronze medal game trivia for you. In what year did Ontario and Nova Scotia meet in the Scotties final? Some more brain cells being burned up here. 3-3 tie. Not a very pretty end, particularly for Ontario. Nova Scotia had a chance for 4. Can't hold the shooter. I immediately turned to both of you and said, why throw it with that much weight?
For Ontario, you
No,
were
no,
throwing it?
for Nova Scotia.
Yeah, well, she actually usually throws it with that kind of weight, Vic. It's that inside-out spot that's a little tricky, and it meant Ontario got very lucky.
They certainly did. Questionable call with the last Ontario stone also, Vic. You know, you roll out on the inside, you roll out on the outside. Yes, you give up 3. You obviously wanted to stay, but not at that expense.
5-6. Line's nice. 6-7.
So the biggest thing will be watching the recovery of Ontario, because I felt she looked a little nonchalant on some of those plays, and you have to get right back into this and dig deep to make sure that you don't let that 3 on the board bother you.
That really came down, hey? Okay.
Top 8.
Not quite to the freeze position that they asked for, but it's in a very good spot for Nova Scotia.
5.
I like it up that
All
high,
there.
totally
All there,
buried.
Allie.
It's tough to work with for Ontario.
7. 6. Line's better this time.
Ontario looking
Yep.
for the
6
angle
there.
on that yellow
Yes.
rock.
Hard! Something. Keep it high. Okay.
Ontario with the hammer here in 5 of this 3-3 tie.
We're shot now.
Okay. All right. Not bad. Same as Terry's. Yep. Yep.
Line's
Keep it out
good.
there.
Line's good.
Yep. Keep it moving. Go.
Whoa. Got room. You got room. Oh, no bounce.
It's not bouncing.
Okay.
Curl.
Just curl a bit.
Big ol' hair.
Okay, nice weight.
They did
board.
not get the angle they wanted.
Think you can stick around with board?
Sorry?
Think you can stick the shooter with board?
I can see half.
Okay. If your hair down, it's okay. Up hack. Roll at least hard, right over. Hard, Lise. Wait, Lise, wait. Shot.
Nice soft weight there. I would love to move that yellow a little farther, but the job's done. The angles were already there. They managed to save the shooter by that aggressive weight call.
9.5.
This is Bliss Comstock.
Hard. Yep.
It's a call to hit the open one, but you would love a roll.
Go. Really hard. Hurry. Really, really hard. Go hard, Danielle. You come and tap this. Okay. What do you like?
You like leaving that yellow on the side, though?
What about this? We have the whole house to roll to.
Right. You can roll a long way, no?
Yeah. Control.
As you're surveying the house and deciding if the plan is on track, you're trying to also look to see what outs the opposition have to get out of trouble.
No.
And the yellow rock top
Control.
8, for example,
Yes,
is usable.
yes!
This one might be usable as well.
Whoa! 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 Get off!
Allison Kreviasek.
It's close.
Now jump it over. Now right through the hole, and it will not quite. Look like it may just hold on. Spins out the back of the 12.
One of those calls, as Linda just pointed out, it's great if you make it, but they did leave an out here, and there is a tap if Nova Scotia chooses.
Yeah, just freeze to the back one. Okay.
Playing the come around first. Now this is one of those spots. They're trying to go a little bit further into the 12-foot to get the big swing. Should finish hard as it's coming into the house.
Which makes this incredibly hard when they have to go out so wide, and then the it's almost like the yellow one's in the way because we know this is going to curl. I don't think this gets by unless it's heavy.
Curl. Whoa. Close
Gotta get them
hips.
by their own
Whoa,
top of the
whoa,
8-foot.
It's all there. I hear you.
And down on the corner, and just it rolls off a little too far, and so it still is Ontario, the Redstones, sitting 1-2, top 4, back 4.
Shot 2. Okay.
The opening of the show, we talked about Heather not being skipped into the messes out front, and controlling that front area, that control zone, and I really
like
think
this?
tapping that yellow would have been a smarter play.
It's tough to get right there.
You'd have two
If you're
yellows
wide,
out front,
you're
Linda,
just
that you could
gonna
use.
slash it. If you wick the guard, it's going to hit and roll under.
What if we just draw here?
That's why I said it's tough to be perfect.
A little light's not awful.
No, but she's going to slash it across the face.
Then our shooter goes.
Let's try it, I guess.
You know your weight.
Throw for top 8. They can sweep it. Top 12 even.
At the moment, there isn't much on the other side for Nova Scotia. The red one's partly open, but you'd be chipping it towards your yellow back 4.
Line's tight. Down. Golden. 4 foot.
You could simply leave
Five.
this short, Linda, and take away both yellows.
Lots of room.
That's why you have to be
Up on
careful.
the
You
tee.
don't set up something to leave their
it's gotta curl.
only shot, which is on this side of the
Stop,
sheet.
isn't it?
Just hit 3, but is that a way in now for Nova Scotia?
It is.
I don't know if you can get to here now. I mean, you could probably touch off that one.
Okay.
Try it. Even here is okay. Let's try and get to here.
Give you a couple feet less.
Yeah. Touch.
But to be careful, they were about 5 feet heavy on that last one, so they bring that weight down. This will still curl
Gotta
over
curl.
towards
Needs
that
to
yellow
curl.
one.
Whoa, way out there.
On the call, Heather.
And that is the key stone in the house right now for Nova Scotia. It is their own, sitting top 8. That's the one that they've got to get around. And can they get to the nose of this and maybe get a little inside wiggle? Wow, look at that. They did get across the nose and have grabbed enough to sit shot stone.
Nice, Danielle.
You know what, Linda, they didn't really come very close to that Yellowstone top 8.
But that was the problem with what Ontario played. They left that path, and it could, as long as it got to the inside of that red stone and didn't leave an out.
Yeah.
Or short, Linda, right?
Exactly.
Anything short in that shot, that lane is not available for Nova Scotia.
Might be able to get it 2 over top. Okay. It's tough, though. Might straight jam it.
Can you do anything on the one on the side? Okay.
Their shot, though, we got to do something with it. There's no straight pick either.
Okay, well, let's try it.
Sorry?
Let's try with 3/4.
The danger is the number 1 red rock. If it's a little bit higher, if they hadn't
Rip the
have bumped
guard.
that, there would be a yellow angle here, yellow onto the red, and the yellow would clear this back red one
I don't mind
in this
ripping the
position
guard.
here. What they're worried about is that can happen because Nova Scotia accidentally
Want to try and send
tapped
it
that
back here
enough.
and hopefully clip this?
They feel they
Okay.
can't run that yellow one
Feel.
through.
We got to roll your shooter number 1, though.
Trying to open it up then.
Yes! Whoa, whoa, hard!
Run it back. And the jam. And now they've also left their shooter center. They've also left the Yellowstone open top of the 8. And the shot rock back button is covered. And it belongs to Nova Scotia.
One strategy mistake, and then the attempted bailout, and Ontario really makes a mess of what was building up to be a deuce.
That's the beautiful
I just
part
wondered
about
if
this
she had
sport, or
anything on
maybe
the
maybe the frustrating part about this
Yeah.
sport, depending on how you want to look at it. But both these teams are great teams. Both these teams have executed well. A couple rubs by Nova Scotia changed one end, but I really do believe Ontario could have capped that intern side off there and made life a lot easier.
So skip stones here in 5. And this is Heather Smith-Stacey drawing in again.
Hard early.
I think they're playing it as a setup shot as well, Vic. So this is one of those where you have to be careful not to bring it in and set something up if it happened to hang out, for example.
Tight.
So
Whoa,
just tight to the house.
Halfway. Whoa, okay. Whoa, let it sit. Halfway.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Stop.
Whoa,
Stop.
whoa. Sit. Hey.
Oh, just a straight guard, actually.
What's that?
Nice. What'd you get? 06? 06. Is you? Have to try it? Sorry? You have to do it?
You can run that into that.
Then I really... But even if I peel that out and she guards here, then I really have nothing.
Well, no, because that guard will be gone.
Yeah, but she just puts it back.
Yeah, but then we have the pin.
I think she's going to put it back better, though.
So if we try this and don't make it, and she just draws around again, and we're facing 2 buried. Unless we double peel.
This guard doesn't do anything, though. Like, I don't know why she even threw it.
Could run it into this one. Cross and hope for that.
Well, you've had some time to think about it now. In what year did Ontario and Nova Scotia meet in the Scotties final? Now, this is a little tricky because you immediately think of Colleen Jones, but so many of them were Team Canada. So how far do we have to go back, Linda?
I wondered about 82. Oh, no. Okay.
1990. Wow, Alison Goring and Heather Rankin.
Whoa,
The Scotties trivia is brought to you by Scotties, as Rachel Homan drives it by, the proud supporter of women's curling for 30 years.
We're not trying not to be too critical, but it felt like Rachel played a shot by default, the last one they talked about, which was trying to clear the front and run something in.
It could have worked if you'd made the red a little thicker onto the yellow, and might get lucky at the back. And they almost got a little lucky off the corner one. But you're right, Linda. They seem to be in neutral here all of a sudden.
If you're going to play those, you have to really think of the angle and really concentrate and focus on the spot to hit the first one, because there's long distances between those rocks. They are not easy run backs.
Do you bring another one in here and risk setting up a double, or do you just cap it off?
That's definitely less.
They're guarding.
Whoa, it's fine, I think. Line's good.
Feeling a real momentum switch, I'm sure.
Line's
Heather
good.
Smith-Dacey
Line's
just
good.
trying to plug up the front.
Line's nice. Okay, just let it die.
Drop over and drop it. Whoa.
Whoa.
Just over and drop it, and it'll drop right there. Did they leave anything out open? Can you get in there?
I think you can. I really do, and it's a constant theme we've watched. It's easy for us up here, but with the ice being a wee bit dished, once you take the weight off, once you throw a 2 as opposed to a 7 or 8 into the rings, that rock bends right out of your hand, and there is enough curl to make this shot. I don't think I'd want to be throwing it, but there is enough curl, Vic.
I guess the question is for Rachel and the way she does release it, if it can be made from this spot. They'll have to really go by the guard tightly. She's not playing quite as wide a spot.
So final stone here in 5. It's the bronze medal game. We're tied at 3.
It's gotta be T.
Rachel
Easy.
Homan needs to be T. You can hear Emma Miskew.
Got room.
Lisa Weagle on the left, Allison Kraviasek on the right. They've got to get it by the guard, just thrown. That's first. Got to get it by that one first. Got to get it by that one, and they will not. And it really busted. And so it is 1, a steal of 1 for Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia 5th, Melanie Comstock wanted to say hello to her husband Greg. He's home and celebrating a 38th birthday, Greg. Happy birthday to you and from all of us as well, as we welcome you back on this Sunday afternoon, our final day here in Charlottetown at Pacific Center. This year's Scotties. This is the bronze medal game, and Nova Scotia with the steal of 1 in 5 with a 4-3 lead. So Ontario, once again, will have the last rock here in 6 playing the Red Stones.
One of the hardest things for coaches to do is to figure out what messages to give teams. That's pregame and fifth M break, for example. So it would be interesting to know what Ontario and Andrea Ronnebeck talked to the coach about, because not only on the scoreboard are things favoring Nova Scotia, in my opinion, also those mental skills of focus and emotional control. Now, Rachel was upset about losing yesterday to Saskatchewan. She's probably upset about some of the mistakes, but they have to pay a little more attention to the shots, the setups, the weights, the lines, all those sorts of things. It seems just a bit too casual. And the very determined Nova Scotia team is going to make you pay now if you're not more careful.
Never.
And pay is what they're playing for. There is money at stake here. $12,000 goes to the winner, $7,000 to the loser. And as we mentioned, in the future play of a bronze medal game, points will be awarded to the teams, and they will be what's used to determine whether your team is good enough to get into, say, a pre-trials or an Olympic trial. So this bronze medal game is now a fact of life in Canadian Championship.
How's line? Line's tighter this time. Whoa, it's fine. Whoa, it's going out. It's gotta go. Okay. Gotta be in. Yep. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Right to it, right to it. Easy, easy, easy.
Just a perfect angle on this one to the face of the rock. Staggered a wee bit on the inside, so if it hit, it goes towards the center, and more importantly, the yellow will clear the back red.
A very nice throw and great brushing to get that rock in the perfect spot for Ontario.
Yep, line's a bit tight. Yep. Hard line, keep it out there. Hard line. Yep, line. Hard line. Go! Hard line. Hard! Hard line.
Line only.
Room. Okay, whoa, room.
So with the room, Lake and Parsons will back off.
Clean it.
Whoa.
Clean. Line's good now.
Whoa.
Yep. Yep, lock it on. Nice shot.
And lock it on they do.
Just straight. Let's go this way. Just hit and roll for a corner. Control. Hit and roll for a corner. Throwing control of a hit and roll. Just hit for a corner. Okay.
Aggressive call, smart call. If you're one down, you like to score two. The best way to score two is throw a corner guard. So they're trying to do both, eliminate the
Down a bit.
a dangerous center Nova Scotia rock, and then roll over. But this was pitched wide.
Moving. Stupid by.
Alison Kreviasik.
We're just rolling out now.
Not enough to hold the shooter as it came up in time.
Fine.
I don't mind this.
Okay.
If you're going to put it in, you have to be really careful. You've got Ontario who can throw big weight and move a lot of granite, so these angles have to be a lot better than if you just guard the situation, and you might have more opportunities for them to run it by.
I was wondering, Russ, if you wouldn't come in, having she just made the draw, come in and just lock it right on the pinhole.
Yeah, you definitely could. I think that was kind of what part of the plan was here, and it comes up a little soft. Yeah, you absolutely could there.
Realizing what you say, they're going to have to use some of their stones to move things around, but at least you've covered it.
Yeah.
And once you bring it in and there's a couple of little hits and rolls, there could be more reds in the house than you were actually planning originally if you're Nova Scotia.
Absolutely. I think back 2 shots here. Rachel was trying to hit and roll for a corner so they could come into the rings later. Now they get to be in the rings for free.
Guys, hard. Roll at least, roll it.
Going to run the stone by, and the shooter will roll over, top 12.
Same thing.
Nova Scotia is sitting 2 without last rock here in the 6th.
I don't mind the hit.
Yeah. Here to
I think
here.
the team at the hack end recognizing that redstone is very usable to run in if you don't get the perfect angle in place.
Real soft.
Whoa. Whoa, close though.
Yep.
Whoa. Yep. Hard.
Whoa. Whoa. Nice shot.
Oh, very nice to avoid the jam and then roll the shooter over just off center line.
What happens if I nose? Well, what happens if I nose it? You could get her back. Well, it's overlapped with the yellow. Sorry? It's overlapped with the yellow. Like our back is probably gone, Em. There's no separation. Yeah, but then we still have those 2 froze in there. I'm just saying, if you're high and you jam it, they're line 3. Okay. I just think we need to move that one first. What?
Shouldn't call down the ice, though. This is another situation where it's going to be fairly precise shot making, so Emma needs to be really on the same page as Rachel with whatever they do.
We'll be 2, 3, 4. It's not a bad position. Back or frozen. Control? I like board.
Still not quite sure, is she?
Yeah, I don't think Emma's totally happy. Her point was to dislodge that dangerous rock at the back of the button, and then you'd have a frozen rock, which is a very good point at the top here. Now they're going to loosen the frozen one, which is fine, and they'd love to line it up on the back. Shot rock for Nova Scotia.
Roll it. Shot him.
When they do, they squeeze the stone over to sit for second shot. And then they've also got the shooter still there on the edge of the 8.
How much? 10. Oh, let's say 9. Yeah, 10. I like a 10.
Boy, it looks flat.
Yeah, that's right. It is really flat. You can roll into your own, but I don't think you could ever roll to the one at the top of the button.
10. Whoa. Whoa. Yep,
Danielle Parsons.
Yep. Hard. Hard. Quick. Hard. Really hard. Hard. Whoa. Yep. Yes. Yep. Hard.
Now there's the roll over. And one more spin. Oh, maybe just a little shy of being second shot.
Almost perfect. And a hair more weight or hair thicker, and that was right where they wanted it. Or hair thinner, I should say.
With that quiet weight, it does finish. Danielle was actually saying, whoa, most of the way down.
Like
just need a little bit more.
Well, maybe not. Got to hit a quarter here to get shot. Hack to board. Okay. Back 4.
Hack to
Sorry?
board.
Oh, never mind.
Instead of being a light hack. You know what? I think we need hack him. Hack up! Whoa, then no. No, it's got to curl a lot.
Hey, release the back one. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not going to. Need to get an inside roll. Okay, it's good.
Well, they get some separation now. They release the backing on the shot stone.
Which is a good thing, Vic, for sure. Unfortunately, I think they might have left a double here.
You got a lot of air here.
Albeit a tough one. They have to be very close to that top yellow.
Yeah, it's there with more weight and less ice, right?
Even if you just do that, like with trying to play the double, it's not bad. You just can't chip that.
I know. Well, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe more weight and less ice. It's a bit easier, isn't it?
I think what Ontario Emma wanted to do was hit it a little harder and roll away, so there wasn't the angle.
Which also releases the back one and rolls away and stops that double. Exactly, Linda. It made more sense.
Make sure you're on the inside of it.
Yeah.
The,
Just firm.
back end for Ontario a little bit on a different page this particular end.
You need to get to the inside of that one.
Okay. With what kind of weight?
Firm. Like if we can get the double, it's fantastic.
Okay.
Hasn't set up so far for Rachel.
Front one, and we don't want to be on the outside, so it's got to be inside of this one.
Okay.
Firm. Yep. Whoa. Whoa.
Heather Smith-Dacey.
Curl.
This is her first. Oh. And she just punches it past her own back button.
Trying.
We got to move it though.
Yeah.
If you just think about Emma's point and you'd freed up the red one more, yes, the red one back 4 just biting would have been gone, but that yellow one would have been available for this double.
If I can get a roll under, it'd be really good.
Exactly. The back red one that Emma wanted to move is really causing the problem here, isn't it?
It's really straight. Okay. Careful on the sweep. It's real straight. Okay, hers didn't move up at all. She landed normal. Yep.
Rachel Holman.
Yep. Whoa.
Angled it back, jammed it, but shot
it.
stone is now
Nice
Ontario at the top edge of the button.
Shot then.
Yeah, we play the double. You could play the double.
I mean, if you hit and roll, she's drawing here for 1. Or for 2.
Free guard.
For 2, not 1.
Yeah.
Could just rip the double, too.
Well, you can nose it. You just played it.
Yeah, I mean,
Then what
if
does she have
it's
for 2?
hanging, you could play the double, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I just don't like to make that for them.
You won't. You just threw it.
Yeah. But is it any different than throwing a guard?
Well, she still won.
I know, but where's she drawing? It's a tough draw. I mean, I think
She's
she
drawing
probably
here.
could bump this. Hey? Okay.
Couple choices here. You could play the double as I just
What are you
illustrated. You could also just
Same kind of weight.
throw the straight
Okay, you were
guard.
here before.
The danger with the double is actually ticking this one, rolling away, and making it easy for 2.
Same kind of weight.
It's just a really interesting game because I don't think that Heather Smith-Dacey liked this shot. This is, again, the third almost convincing her. I think Heather wanted to play the guard, make the second point almost impossible. It is a possible draw, but very difficult. But Danielle wanted this shot.
Bless. Yep. Yep. Quick.
Trying to hold the line for Heather Smith-Dacey. Terry Lake, Liz Comstock.
Shot.
But the button is there.
Just throwing the guard there.
It's funny because Heather knew it too. Heather actually did eventually mention that she took the sales pitch from the vice, bought it, but then did say, well, why don't we just throw the guard?
I mean, I spend a lot of time with and say, no, that doesn't make sense. This is what I want to do.
Can't agree more. The guard was so much simpler.
So sitting 1, top of the button. A chance
Nice
for a
try.
deuce
Be
here
all
and
there, Flux.
to right the ship for Ontario after
Should be
giving
over.
up 3 and then the
Let
steal
go.
of 1 in
Okay, go
5.
then. Line's really tight.
Rachel Holman.
Go. Hard line.
Curling into the path, the center line path. It should slow down here.
Boy, they got to really scrub, though, to get it
They're
there.
all over it.
And they're all over it indeed. So it's just a single for Ontario. Missed opportunity. And we are all tied at 4 through 6. It's the bronze medal game of the Scotties. Well, thank you very much. From the Sault Ste. Marie, where we were a year ago. Now here in Charlottetown for this year's 30th edition of the Scotties. Ontario and Rachel Holman had a chance to draw for 2. She came up light, settles for the single. So we're all tied at 4, going to 7 in Nova Scotia. We'll have the last
Go
draw
hard.
playing
Top
Yellowstone.
four. Top 4. Go, go, go. Line's perfect. Line's perfect. Go, 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 go. Yep, all you got. All you got. Go top 4.
Okay, good sweeping, you guys.
Heather Smith-Dacey skipping this team, of course, with Colleen Jones
Just a little more.
coming down with her meningitis. But Colleen was on the ice earlier today, and she's a winner. She's won her 26th Nova Scotia curling title of some sort. She's a 7-5 winner over Jocelyn Nix.
Wait only 6.
And
Wait
so
only.
she is the Nova Scotia
got a bad
Senior
job.
Women's Champion. And she will now go on to
Oh, I must be up.
represent
Go hard.
Nova Scotia
Yep. Go
at
hard.
the Canadian Seniors, and they're to be played
Hard, Barry, guys.
in
Go, go,
Digby,
go, hard.
Nova Scotia, March 19th through the 26th. So Colleen, congratulations, and we hope you're feeling better.
A good half.
Okay,
Roll over.
just come in and tap it back.
It's behind mine.
I like this with hack, but does that look good to you?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay. Hack weight.
Absolute
This spot moves
perfect
real nice
position
here. Yeah.
by Terry Lake with that in-turn come around to the top of the 8-foot, and it really forces Ontario to go around it as opposed to freeze. Bring that first one close to the button, the opponent freezes and you have very little chance of scoring. The scoring area is shrunk right down. Now, with a proper hit here, you have all 12 feet and you're laying 2.
Really hard. Quick. Really hard. Go, 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 go. Yeah, roll it off.
That spot that has caused them a little bit of trouble because of the curl. Once you get the rock going, it just keeps going, and there's the mistake.
Okay.
She goes like this.
It's not bad for the force, eh?
Sure.
Yeah, I kind of like that. Keep it simple.
Once again, before you start this end, you should have in your mind what you're trying to
Better one
accomplish,
more
whether you're
guard.
trying to steal or trying to
Okay.
force a single.
Okay, let's make it good.
Card's
Better to
dangerous
guard
too,
ours.
Linda. There's a change of mind here, as you just mentioned. How do you guard them both? Guard the red. There's a yellow raise to sit too.
And the funny thing about momentum, now let's remember
Great,
Ontario
it's
didn't
heavy.
get their second point last end. The
Way
draw
up
comes
there.
up short. So Rachel
Great.
probably thinking, well, I want to
Maybe
try
four.
and get that point.
Okay,
I'd
we're
leave it
gonna
up.
get here.
But
Tiny
the
ball.
force, I mean, you're in a
Just three.
position in this
Top
game
ball,
where it's
go.
not a problem. You're only playing 7. You're not
Hard.
behind in the game if you're Rachel. You're
Hard.
tied, so you don't have to go crazy
Keep
here.
going, hard.
I think it's
finish.
because of,
Go.
such a successful junior career, and let's not be too hard on them. Let's face it, in my mind, they might be one of the favorites for Russia here for the next Olympic Games. They're a fabulous team on the way up, and the sky's the limit. But
What
maybe
got
you
of
could
it?
play that aggressive style time in and time out at the
that's
junior
okay.
level
Just come
and
in,
get
come
away
in
with
back.
it. But you're not playing juniors here.
I don't know. We could play this too.
I kind of like that better.
Yeah, I do too. Save the shooter.
Kind of wait.
9.5.
I think the yellow tap is there. They're going to play the top one first.
9.5.
Whoa.
Whoa. Right off.
Whoa, close.
Well, yep.
Could play it thin onto the other red.
Okay. Said to get a little earlier.
And they'll roll it across the top.
Okay.
Do you throw another guard?
Control.
Stick the shooter, Allie.
Control.
I think the right call.
I would much prefer this. This is such a nice position. You don't have rocks behind the tee line that can freeze to. You don't have corner guards that are going to potentially set up the end for them.
Close, clean,
Wide
yes.
open force.
Yep.
Get the
Hard.
hammer back in
Really
it.
hard. Hard, guys. Hold it. Hard. Nine. Yep. Hard. Hard.
Bliss Comstock.
Real hard. Really hard.
They hold the line for her to get them both. No.
Okay.
Little bonus on the side.
There's more.
A big bonus. That rolls out. You might see Ontario
I'm on
cap
the
that
guard.
one close to the button.
Okay.
Bring it tight, right?
2 or 3.
3, eh?
Sorry, where do you want it? 2, 3? Hey. Two.
Or just 2.
Whoa,
Oh,
don't drag it out.
Just like 1, 2, right?
2. 1.
Lisa, take it.
Really, really.
Yeah,
like,
go. Hard. Hard, guys, all the way. Hard. Hard. Keep going. Go. Hard. Hard. Keep going. Okay.
What do you have? Like half?
2/3.
Okay, it's really long guard. Hack weight.
Board.
Danielle
Close.
Parsons.
Yep. Yep. Whoa. Whoa. Off. Right off.
A lot of weight, eh?
Board.
Get solid board. Just stay with it, Terry.
And enough to punch it out to the back, but they can't hold the shooter.
Top 8, guys.
Well, kind of trading it back and forth here.
Yeah, you'd love to hang around there. This gives a freebie to Ontario a chance to put some pressure on. And we know this curls really hard, hog line in.
It looks so heavy. Whoa. 7.
Tons of room so far. Just over the hog line. If the speed's proper, it'll start to move.
Oh, dear. Is it in the rings?
Uh-oh.
Still in play.
What's the time on that? 97.
I kind of like this for now. Yep. Save your shooter.
Well, I already said I didn't
Two,
like
right?
playing
What's that?
a long guard, for example. I would be hitting the one in the
Two
house
over
if
here.
I was playing it for Ontario and just force. Although you don't expect that kind of miss from your third. That is a very long rock. Expect it to be close.
9.5. Oh, what's the weight? Clean.
Whoa.
Clean. Yep. Hard. Quick. Hard. Right up. Right to it. Okay. Good. Next time, Danielle.
The jam at the back outside the rings, but look at that. You see? Well, that's not the second shot. The Yellowstone on the side. That second shot, the one at the back, just hanging on, his third stone belonging to Ontario. Nova Scotia, though, with the last rock in this 4-4 tie.
It's nice. It was like a 9-8.
Rachel Holman and her first. Is she looking for the roll behind the guard?
It's looking for a roll closer to the other side, Rick, somewhere.
Hard! Go, Lise!
There's the
Yeah,
roll.
whoa!
And she'll roll it back 8 foot.
Can't see the roll.
What you got?
Great try. Maybe half buried in it.
Even here, really good.
And half buried on the correct side, an over curl. And that means that you're playing, if you're Heather Smith Dacey, on the same side as the other yellow.
I don't know if she is. Doesn't make it. She's looking at 3. That's true. I think you play this just because of this jam. Try and lay 2 here.
Okay.
Let me have a look at it.
Heather would like to cross it, but there's that jam possibility. Plus, to cross it, do you bring that guard into play?
This made the rule made this much more
try to get to the
complicated for Heather. So although it's not buried, it has done a lot of
Long
good.
guard, yeah. Up to nose, I guess. That's all you need.
Could hit it in high side roll to the broom position, which would also be a tough double, and that would take away the jam.
Get ready to get on it. Okay. We know there's good late movement here.
Big board. Whoa.
A little extra weight, it might not curl. It might have to go the other way here. Could call the audible.
Stay with it.
Whoa.
Stay with it. Stay with it. Curl a little more. Ah.
Okay.
Oh, just got away with it.
Yes, she did.
Is it okay?
Little up.
Yeah, it is okay. That's still second shot. The 1T line, 12 foot.
Oh, it's half.
Shoot.
I feel like it's
A little too much weight. Isn't terrible, I don't think.
Well, the long roll gave you a chance, and Rachel's going after that chance right now.
And this looks like an in turn, but there's a very good chance it's an out turn.
Throwing the out turn, and if it makes contact, it'll change turn, trying to get the double.
Hard! Slow! Whoa! Roll it, Ollie! Roll it! Hard! Go! Hard!
Oh, and roll it she does, right over on the corner.
Nice attempt. That was such a flat double. You had to whip it a little thinner. I think it was makeable. It would have been a tough too, but at least close that scoring area down a little bit.
Two nice shots by Rachel, two good throws, but in my opinion just made it too complicated this end. It did not need to.
4.
Getting to the point in the game that if this breaks early, you're into a little bit slower path. It's up to the sweepers to keep communicating.
Pretty good.
The 4.
Half a stone in the 4 foot.
Piece of the 4.
Or a couple.
Have a look.
Piece of the 4.
All you.
Keep line's perfect.
It's all you.
Yeah, go
Terry
hard.
Lake, Liscomstock. Danielle Parsons calling
Yes.
line.
Hard, you guys. Go.
Looking for the 2 to take the lead here.
Okay, it's good, it's good.
Nice touch. To yellow.
Good, sorry for being so helpful.
Nova Scotia will put their blue nose out in front with 2 here and 7.
Get down here.
Team Canada celebrate their 3rd straight Canadian women's curling title. Team Canada will find their way into the Sunday final of this year's Scotties. Saskatchewan will play Team Canada for this year's Scotties title here in Charlottetown. It'll be a rematch. And that's tonight at 6:30 Eastern Time. Jennifer Jones, Amber Holland, playing for the right to represent Canada at the Women's Worlds to be played in Denmark. This is all about the bronze medal, though, on this afternoon here in Charlottetown as Ontario and Nova Scotia go to the 8. Nova Scotia scoring the deuce, and so Ontario has the last rock, playing the Red Storm.
Hard. Hard. Right to it, guys. Go hard. Real hard.
First one out in front, the come around, and there is the run back. And I think Heather Smith-Stacey is back to her plan of keeping it a little more open.
And people playing along at home here, put up your hand if you thought you couldn't hit that rock. I taught a clinic down in this area about a month ago, and it's amazing how many people don't think you can peel your own rockland. It's something we tend to forget. You throw up the centers, you go around it regardless of what color it is, and that was a smart call by Heather.
I think in particular because with the 3-rock rule, the first free guard zone rule instituted in Canada, you could not hit any rock out in front, and then we went to the World Curling Federation rule, which you can't peel out any opposition guard.
Mark it again. Okay. Yep. Yep. Whoa. 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 Right off. Whoa. Close. Yep. Whoa. 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 Whoa.
Nicely done. Changing up the turns here. Going to go with the out turn.
Turn around.
You see it a lot at the men's level. You're almost, when there's a tight guard and it's the opponent's rock, you almost don't want to make the come around perfect, because if the raise is made perfect, then it's dead buried.
4, 3. Hard.
Half bury is great, but first you have to get it by the guard.
Oh, guys, hard. Get separation, go. Bounce off. Okay. Okay.
Front of the tee.
Yeah, keep it going. Through. Lots of room to keep it going. Take a look.
Room.
Whoa.
Whoa, way out there. Go. Yep, here it comes nice. Yep, keep it going.
I'm not sure why the early brushing. We do know that it finishes hard as it's coming in, and that's when your brushing is most effective.
Back 4.
What are you trying? Oh, you're just tapping
Back 4.
That rock is mostly open.
That early brushing for the newer curlers tends to straighten it out early, and in this case allowed it to stay wide open.
Yep, go. 9. Whoa. 10. Yep. Whoa. No. Yep. Hard. Really hard.
Oh,
no.
no.
Okay, sorry.
Well, you know what? You have to think as a brusher. That close, you got it, and it just sort of reaches out and nips you.
It's behind the tee
That's
now.
the
I like
communication
rolling
of the
under.
weight. Allison threw that very well, and they were calling out the weight as it went down the ice. Emma and Lisa said to change their minds and gave a new number as it was about halfway. And I think you had to be on that if you were Rachel, just to make sure, because that little tick leaves the one buried.
Yep.
That's what I saw.
Hard. Real hard.
Whoa. That's more than a 10.
No.
Okay, sorry, it's just more. There was more weight.
That's when we all get caught as a skip, or whoever's holding the broom at the time, is you see the release and your first indication is, well, it looks pretty good, but if you don't pick up on that little extra weight that was called for, it changes the line at the far end.
I think a lot of people don't understand the communication needed on a takeout.
Yep,
People realize
7,
on draws how
11,
key it
6.
is, but on takeouts
Yep,
it's just as
here.
important to convey the
Whoa.
weight that is on
6,
release.
5, 6. It's got to be shot.
No line.
Weight only. Whoa. Okay.
Even if you push it through to the 12-foot,
Okay.
I think you'll get a nice finish. Just back line.
Where's that guard?
What's that?
Where's that guard?
How far off?
Yeah.
I don't know, like this.
Okay. Back line?
Just get under. Yep.
The challenge is this is a relatively straight spot on the ice, so even playing these quieter weights, you're trying to figure out how much ice to take, hoping the brushers can hold it if it starts to make a move.
Well, for back line, certainly can't be more than that in this spot.
Back line. Yep. Whoa.
It will
Little up.
not finish with any more than
back
back line.
Clean.
Whoa!
Clean.
Whoa! Right off!
Oh,
Move.
That's a lot of weight.
Go. Keep going. Go.
Well, the Redstone will spin far enough. And at the moment, it is Nova Scotia sitting 2 without Landstroth.
Nice opportunity to roll here now.
Is there a double? Really? No, because it jams. Okay. We just got to get under.
Okay.
Want to throw a board?
Okay.
I like hack better. Just hack up. Well then, get off. No, right off. It's board. Yeah.
Okay.
Linda, let's take a look at some player numbers, and we'll focus on the skips.
it really has been a story of Heather Smith-Dacey, a determined skip through round-robin play, a very good skip today at 82%. And Rachel Homan, remember she missed draws in 5 and 6, gave up a steal, didn't get the second point. That's where her game is really falling down. She made a couple of nice hits last time, but just couldn't get out of trouble.
The player numbers brought to you by Ford, official automotive partner of the Canadian Curling Association. Here in Prince Edward Island, our final day in Charlottetown.
Okay, popping it out the hole. What's that?
Just the one sheet in play. After a week-long round robin that ended on Thursday.
This is one of those ones that can jam. The object is to roll buried. You roll buried, you're hitting 2/3 to half a rock. It could go back under that yellow, but if you do roll buried, you're sitting at least 2. So the jam is not as big a concern.
Maybe down a bit. Yep. Yep. Whoa. Hard. Whoa.
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 Whoa. Off.
Straight.
Off.
Straight
off,
through.
Off.
Nice shot. Okay.
Ah.
Nice shot, Heather.
Not quite able
Could have
to
been sweet.
duck it in behind those center guards.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a very challenging spot, though, and she got a little bit of a roll. Changed the spot for Rachel.
Because otherwise it's not going to get 5 balls. Like just throw even back 12.
Back 12. Back 12. Okay, let's make it good.
Bringing the weight right down. The last 2 rocks were at least board or certainly heavy hack. Now we're going to back 12 to get a little bit more finish.
Quick here still? Yep. 95's T. 95's T.
That interval, backline to hog, is 3.95. It is a quick spot, and that often happens, too, when it is straight. The rock just keeps gliding.
11.
Rachel Holman on her first. Here in the
Whoa!
safe.
Whoa!
No,
Right
no,
off.
no, no.
Weagle. Kreviazuk. Backing right off. Looking to get across the nose, and instead it's right on the beak.
Weight was just about bang on. Linda has just straightened out on them a little bit here. See what she says.
Now, if you pull down the weight, she thought maybe it was hack weight instead of back line weight. When you pull it down a little bit, you get that curl.
Same weight. Okay,
You
go
might
here.
think it is a really straight little spot. It's hard to know. Even the draws haven't been making much of a move.
In this case, now that we're down to 1 Ontario rock to come, dead on is a really tasty little spot because it's kind of blocks off that in-turn draw. Rachel will have to go really wide because there's lots of curl out wide, or play the out-turn wide to the back yellow, which is dead buried.
Less.
Line's great.
Yep.
Line's
Yes.
Final stone, Heather Smith-Dacey and Nova Scotia.
Clean.
Here in the
Yep.
eighth.
Yep. Yep. Hard. 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 Right to nose. Right to it.
Late
Quick.
Comstock, right to nose, even better. They got just a little bit across.
Nice shot, Heather.
Very little bit of an inside roll, but it's a different spot.
So Nova Scotia able to put a little bit of a question mark in
Lauren.
Rachel's mind about how much ice to take there. You can see her moving it out a little bit, and even the speed in this spot.
Chances are they're wide enough here with the inside out release to catch some very fresh pebble where it should be a little bit quicker. Not any quicker than it was in the second or third end, but if you're
Gotta be
thinking the
T-line,
slow
go.
area down the middle, you could be heavy here.
And what she's looking to catch, of course, is the 4-foot.
Line's great, guys. Hard.
Hard line.
Big
Hard.
scrub here.
Hard.
Huge brush. Weagle, Kreviazuk. Drag it for all it's worth. More. Little more. They got it.
They'll give a medal to those front ends for getting it that far. Great brushing.
Nova Scotia still leads, and they'll also have the hammer. Well, it was a draw against a couple, and it's a key draw because it keeps you in it.
Well, they were ahead 3-0, have been outscored 6-1 in the last 4 ends, and now you're facing 3. You've got to get it there.
I was more worried about being heavy because you want to stay away from that guard, but no, they took tight ice and soft weight, and they swept that from one end to the other. And for Lisa and Allison, a point for them.
Boy, it was a draw against 3. Key shot is brought to you by Cashmere. Cashmere bathroom tissue. Nothing feels like Cashmere. So here we go to the 9th, and it's Nova Scotia up by 1. And they also have the last rock in this bronze medal game of the Scotties.
It's one of those games we often talk about, the setup shots played by the leads, and Terry Lake for Nova Scotia has that feel. Again, top 4 around the center guard, and she's been doing that all game.
Perfect. Go! To a guard. Doesn't look there. Get off.
No, it's like 2.
Not even close.
Don't want to angle this either.
Well, earlier today you saw the closing ceremonies for the Canada Games. Last night they had the men's curling final, and it was Ontario and Ben Bevan from Annandale in Ajax, who was a 6-5 winner over Saskatchewan's Brady Scharback out of the Granite in Saskatoon.
Whoa!
Of course, you said that there are many
Line's good now.
former
Needs to curl.
Canada
Stay close, keep it
Games
clean,
winners
Wait.
who have gone
Yep,
on
line's
to
great. Yep, right on top of
great
us there.
success in men's and women's play.
It's a real nice shot, Terry.
Right down on top.
Judge.
2 pistols just in the perfect spot, and it's tough for Ontario to get in there now.
Yeah, those 2 rocks out in front were just fine if you're trying to get something in a good position, but it's hard now that the 2 others are in there first.
Could try and get to here.
Get like the freeze.
They're gonna be 2. Yeah. I think we gotta try and get shot or run them.
What do you like?
Where am I looking? Where do you want it? Like T?
Back button.
One more time, you have to be very clear what you're trying to accomplish. Nova Scotia has the hammer. Are you trying to steal? Or are you trying to force them to a single? Have the hammer coming home and go for your 2? And that then determines what you're trying to do here. There is the double run. You could do it almost like skins play and set a rock up top 12 that's available to be moved into those yellows. Or if you're trying to steal, well, yes, you could draw around them. But it has to be determined by your plan.
Hard!
6.
Hard, 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 hard. Get it by.
No, they won't. Little Rob Roll will sit for second shot.
Give all of it?
Just.
Okay. Board.
Careful here, too. You steal a 2 would be awfully nice. You could roll away here. The danger with a board waiter is you might set something up to help the opponent.
Whoa, right off. Right off.
Let's Comstock.
Whoa, it's coming now. Whoa. Yep. Whoa. Yep, roll away. Yep. 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 Roll it right over. Okay.
There we go. Didn't quite roll it far enough. This is a tough double, but Ontario believes it's available.
Yep.
Hey, could have rolled that right out, Linda.
Just waited a little too long. It looked like it was going so straight, but you have to believe with that quiet weight, those hits will come over. This isn't going to have quiet weight.
Oh, no, never.
For Allison Kreviazuk. And right on the nose.
I don't know, like, I don't really want to sit there. I can roll out.
Which
They
you
real nice.
thought
You
they
can go
should
there,
have
but
done on
I think
the
you just
first
roll
one.
out. Okay.
I think so, Vic.
Kind of want to keep our shooter.
They're going to have a chat.
Those two
Then
in
if
the
they try
four-footers
running
so
them
nice.
back,
I
Mac
just don't want to
and
get them.
Heather and Danielle will talk.
If we keep our shooter though, and they try running those back, it's really risky for them, right?
I don't think they're running. If we nose that,
I
they're
talked
playing the
about it
exact same
earlier.
thing, though. I think if we nose, they're going to play this crosshouse double. That's why I'm thinking, like, is that helping us? I mean, if you roll off, great. If you roll out a little bit, that's okay, but not nose.
Okay.
So I'll just call the sweep cautious. If we roll out, it's not bad.
Okay.
Roll out's fine. You roll to here, it's good too. Okay. 9.5. Okay.
To be careful here, rolling a foot would be great, but the difference between rolling a foot and hitting it dead on, which would be a disaster, is only about an inch. So
Yep.
they have to protect on the wide side.
Whoa. Yep. Yep. Whoa. Yep. Whoa. Yep. Roll tear.
Hang on.
Okay.
Oh, nicely done.
Wow. What a great play by Heather.
Don't quite follow this one, Linda. To your point about when to bail, two buried rocks top of the button.
Oh, get off.
This rock, wherever this stops, doesn't help them.
And it won't stop anywhere.
One of the things you can do as a team when you're into these ends and you're trying to make decisions is start with the plan, as I mentioned, then start to track your shots. That shot
don't
for
really
Emma
wanna
was
touch this.
extremely difficult, and as Russ said, it wasn't really leading to the result we were talking about earlier.
Top 12 bad?
You can't
No,
go draw, guard,
Middle.
hit without
Okay.
understanding how those sequences
Yeah,
fit
I'm thinking
together.
over here.
They're gonna try that draw again.
It's back here. They gonna try that draw again, back button?
No, I don't think we want to do that.
No, are they gonna try that? Time.
So the call for a coach's visit, and once again, making a second trip.
I know.
And very
I know, but
quick jog heel. This would be Mark Casey.
open side.
Come on.
If you try something there and you wick off, then they got the in off. I mean, you want them throwing draw weight or peel weight?
Like, top
You think?
12.
Like it's
I
so
don't.
good.
It's sitting good. I mean,
I know.
Your options are to peel the center guard or
I know.
draw.
I was thinking of
draw.
peeling.
Just run it in though if we peel. I know.
Yeah, they're not being doubled out though because the top one's frozen pretty good.
Do you
I
peel
like
the
your
top
call.
guard or do you go back 8 and
Yeah.
one side?
I think your call to go to the wing is fine. And
okay.
you know what? The intern draw for them to go
That's so
around.
hard.
I mean, they got the game on the line if they miss it.
Yeah.
And even if they make it, they steal one. You're tied up with coming home. You got the game-winning shot. They're aiming at something the size of a dime. It's pretty small.
So Rusty, like the coach?
I've always liked Mark.
No, okay.
The
Let me
coach's choice.
rephrase that.
Okay.
You like the coach's words.
Yeah, I really do. I really do, and I've always appreciated Mark's strategy, and I think so. They're in a great situation. The problem, you could come around again, but you might set something up. The other option was to peel a guard, and the theory there is to open it up and possibly blank the end. But
It's like a lot of weight.
there's nothing better than a blank than a 3-ender, and going to the open side here.
It looks like lots.
Ontario has to
It
make
is.
a move unless they
Definitely
can get
back.
in for second shot, which is possible. But unless they don't get in for second shot, it's a good chance to score their deuce.
Sit. Dig in.
Sit.
So they play to the wings,
Good.
and it'll stop back 12.
Okay. Nice throw, Daniel.
The nice part about this is with the ability Ontario has, they know they can make the double peel, then possibly make the double. But because of that third rock in there, there's still a good chance for a 2-ender for Nova Scotia.
Yes! Whoa. Hard! Hard! Drag it out! Whoa! Whoa!
Ooh, it's close to ringing right back onto the yellow.
Well, they'll get some separation.
Let's get him.
Nova Scotia, with the last rock here in 9, is
No, here.
sitting 3.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why that wasn't played at least one shot earlier, Linda. If that same situation, then you have more time to bail.
Yeah, it's again in my point. You play a couple of guards, and then you play a come around, and then you're now playing an almost impossible hit and roll, and then the bailout much too late. And it's just that understanding of when you want to accomplish
pretty
it
good too,
and what is
actually,
the end
back
result
8.
you're looking for. I agree. It had to be at least one earlier. Want to be careful with this one. There are already angles set up in the house, and there will be
back.
at least a double left, so
Yeah,
you just
hard.
don't want to set up
Hard,
a triple.
Hard, 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 you guys. Hard, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Go, 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 go. Go, go, go. Okay. Nice, Danielle.
Well-positioned rocks by Nova Scotia. There might be some type of triple here, but I think the choice this late in the end is do you play a couple of doubles and give up 2 or 3 points, or do you go for the gusto right here and play the draw?
Playing the freeze.
Still quick here.
Rachel Holman out of the Ottawa Curling Club, her first stone.
Bram. Whoa, guys. 7.
No.
6. Hasn't moved yet.
Switch. Go now. Go now.
There.
Gotta
No,
be
we gotta
frozen.
wait.
Line's pretty good for the freeze.
Hard, guys, go! Hard!
To the top edge of the 4. Don't know if it got there for second shot. Looks like it pretty close. Shot stone still back 4, belongs to Nova Scotia.
But I'd play to hit this one first.
Yeah.
Like play into that
Play
one.
into it. Out turn. You like an in?
Doesn't matter. It's to you. This is a straighter one.
Yeah, I think it's easier for you to call.
But if you play it this way, you're playing
Yeah.
away from this one.
Exactly.
The nice part here,
I
you
think I
could,
like the in, actually,
could
just
get the
looking at
jam.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
but I think the nice part, Linda, is you hit part of that rock, you have the catcher on the yellow, you move it out of the way, and you guard that back one as long as Rachel can't sneak around the one you've just thrown.
Even if she does, if there's any separation, you can use your shooter to then move into that rock.
You can double them, and it's fine.
I play to take just a little bit of red first.
So she hits and stays in the no freeze. Okay.
9.
Even if you tick your own back one,
Whoa.
there'd be nothing to freeze to.
Whoa.
You already heard
Whoa.
Rachel Holman say to Emma Miscue
Yeah, whoa,
that
whoa,
they're
whoa,
looking
whoa,
at some
whoa,
kind
whoa.
of a freeze.
Nice one. Nice shot, Heather.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow.
That's perfect.
Nice throw.
Yeah, good call.
Where do you go?
Forever to come over.
Yeah. Well, I'd rather that than
Try to get around on the in-turn side might make the most sense, Vic. There's a little more space that way. Going around on the out-turn, you can't get to the face of it. And if you get to the button here, there's still going to be a raise for Ontario, but it has to be made.
Shot.
Same way, you think?
I think so.
Always the same routine for Holman. She comes down and gets the little fist pump from her front end of Lisa Weigel and Alison Kraviasek. And now needing to draw against 5. Remembering Nova Scotia has the lead. They also have the last rock here in 9.
It has to be perfect in a spot where they really haven't played it a lot
gotta
and
be
don't
T-line.
exactly know how to get to this spot.
We're a little inside the
Line's
hill, aren't we?
tight.
So it's either going to hit the slow stuff and die, or it's going to run a little straighter.
Hard line,
Boy,
hard
and
line.
it's just diving at the stone, which is
over.
sitting
Hard.
top edge of the 4
Hard,
foot.
you gotta get it by. You gotta get it by.
Big scrub here.
Hard.
And oh, they did. And the scrub, of course, will keep it going. And then it slides to the back edge of the 4 foot. Now, can you get there and punch it
Pop it,
back?
retreat.
Or just push it back for a bundle.
They did not want to put it there, but that's in a phenomenal
Third.
spot.
Okay.
You've got the raise,
Pop it
but
for
it's
3.
blocked by your own rock. You can hit your own, but it's blocked by your top rock, and it
I just go back
spun at the
forward.
end and
Yeah.
curled enough that it's virtually buried. And if you wanted to miss a shot, that's the absolute perfect spot. It's a tough little shot here.
A little tap for 3.
I mean, if she throws more and happens to roll off, she has her own stone at the back that might act as a catcher. Depends how much, of course, Linda, she can catch the red and how far she can push it.
You can sweep it.
It's a draw for 2, really, and a tap for 3.
What do you want to throw?
Back 4? Back 4.
Okay.
So really, very light.
So what do you want? 4? Still?
Yeah.
Right now it is Nova Scotia sitting 1. Final stone for Heather Smith Dacey.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Looking to throw back
Close.
4 weight.
Back 4. Close.
Now jumping all over it. Blake Comstock. Got to get it by their own stone purse. Get it by their own top 8. By that one. Push it far enough. Bang it back. And it'll sit for 3 for Nova Scotia here in 9. It may be for bronze, but Nova Scotia has got their golden game today. Well, in a game where the bronze medal is on the line and in a game where both skips admit it was difficult to play. First time ever a bronze medal game at a Canadian championship. As we say now, this is the norm. And more difficult certainly for Ontario and Rachel Holman. She does have the last rock. She has the hammer here in 10 playing the red stones. 9-5. Nova Scotia leading.
That was a very nice end for Nova Scotia. A series of terrific shots. A great understanding by Heather Smith Dacey of what she wanted. And really it all started with 2 perfect shots by the lead.
It absolutely did. Lisa accidentally came up late with her second one for Ontario, and Terry made her pay. Just top of the button, dead buried, frozen solid, and those rocks went on the scoreboard. And it was a pretty easy end to play out for Nova Scotia after those 2 lead rocks.
Especially this one high.
Sorry, Lynn.
Go ahead.
Chance at the double peel here. With the score the way it is, you don't want to be too heroic.
No, single peel is fine.
Hard, go!
This is Bliss Comstock.
Breathe. Keep it going, go, go, go!
Sorry, I didn't have my cursor.
What's that? Oh, okay.
Can I go back 12 here?
Can't take it, Allie.
Full line. Not alive. Gotta go back 12. 4, 3. Leave it at 3.
Wanna guard?
Wide open anyways.
What's going on?
What are they being fooled on? We just heard them say, what's going on?
Well, that one's a little light, Vic. That could have been deep because they wanted to wrap another one around that card. And I think they're just playing in the slightly slower spot down that center.
Right down the center, 10-10, a lot of rocks there, and just didn't give it to the sweepers.
Whoa. Yep. Whoa. Yep. Yep. Hard. Go.
Comstock.
Nice shot.
1 and moves it over. Shooter doesn't hang around.
What time did you get? 4:05.
Down by 4.
Has to go deep here, has to be buried. Leave some room for a few more.
Line right. Yep, go.
8.
Whoa. Line, sign, go for weight.
7.
Weight only.
8.
Whoa, if you can. Yep, right back. Gotta go back here. Hard.
Oh, nice draw for Alison Kraviazik as she draws it just back of the tee line, fully covered behind those two stones. Let's take a look at the game story, Linda.
Well, it started out so well for Ontario, but things went very awry in 4. Big mistakes by Ontario led to a 3, and from then on, it really was all Nova Scotia. A beautiful tap in 9 by Heather Smith-Dacey, who has the big edge at the skip position.
The game story brought to you by the Dominion, Canada's trusted insurance company.
Dale, whoa.
Be a little careful here. If you tick this yellow really thin, it redirects onto the red. You have to get about half of this to move it out of the way.
Whoa. Okay.
Could have played that with the other turn, Linda, just to take care of the one guard and leave the corner, and the back rock would be wide open.
I think if you see another one come around it, that may be what is played.
It's tough, though, guys. You have to admit, I mean, you're up by 4. You've got to keep your
Line's way
focus.
out.
I know that, but it is difficult not to let your mind wander a little bit if you're Nova Scotia.
And with peels often, Vic, you're being a little cute, maybe a little extra weight, and all of a sudden things are going a lot straighter than you expect.
Hard! Keep going, guys, go!
Really good.
Hard!
Go.
Yep.
Uh-oh. And it just does stop at the back edge.
Feel the guard.
Great audible there, though, to get it by and hang it on the edge. And you have to hit the guard here, not the back ones. Just roll somewhere.
Hard.
Danielle Parsons.
Hard. Clean. Okay, good.
And guard is what she gets.
Shots.
Remember now, you're down by 4.
See a good guard.
Looking for the guard as you play the last of your third stones with Emma Miskew.
This continues to play out. This is a chance for 3 for Ontario. That presumes that Heather Smith-Dacey can make her shots and peel out the guard, for example, on her first.
Gotta finish. 3, up, go. Okay, clean.
Yep, a little bit.
Hard. Yep. Hard, right over, go. Hard. Shut up.
Wide open. 3/4.
Play the peel.
Peel it.
What's that?
How much do you have? 3/4.
Play the peel.
Not even tempted.
Well, we have seen the occasional temptation end up in ticking in the guard and missing the back
you never
one,
wanna
so that
tick
is
them
the
in.
concern.
Exactly.
Okay.
Heather Smith-Dacey.
Clean. Yep.
The first of the skip stones here in 10.
Whoa.
Clean.
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 Good throw, Heather.
And with 2 to go, you've got to make them count.
Great effort after the third end for Nova Scotia to out curl Ontario 9-2 from the third end on. That's pretty impressive.
Probably not a guard. That makes sense.
And in my opinion, it's not just been the execution, but I think the plan and the thought processes of Heather Smith-Dacey have been terrific.
4, 5. Okay, just 4. We're there. Well, then let it curl. Whoa.
Make sure we're in.
It's all there, guys.
So make something go away for the win for Nova Scotia and our bronze medal at this year's Scotties. You know, we've had some wonderful moments here in Charlottetown, and as the crowd responds here at the Civic Center, and this is one of them, the fact that they lost their skipper, Colleen Jones, who came down with meningitis prior to the playdowns, and then Heather Smith-Dacey moving up to skip this young team and qualify for the tiebreaker and get into the 3-4 game. And on the same day that Colleen Jones, healthy enough, wins the Nova Scotia Seniors, here's her team, the team that she showed all the medals for some inspiration. Her team, Heather Smith-Dacey, they will win the bronze medal here in Charlottetown. (9-7) the final score as Nova Scotia receive congratulations from their coach, Mark Dacey. They are the bronze medalists here at the Scotties.